So, a note on accuracy, because we talk about human captions being more accurate than machine captions, but how much does it matter, really? Um, the answer is a lot. um, so just to give you an idea, I have some machine captions, which I believe were from Panopto, this is from the KVCC Faculty Instructional Awards. This is already a public video, that's why I'm using it. Um, and you can see the difference. What this is supposed to say is, and to KVCC to award you the Faculty Instructional Award. How it got auto-captioned was anything to see to board to the fact that construction of water. Obviously, the machine captions in this case are not acceptable as captions. But even when they're mostly accurate, you can hear claims from machine captioners that say, well, our machine captions are 88% accurate or what have you. In terms of the law, and I don't ever want to hit anyone over the head with, well, we're going to get you in trouble or anything like that. But in terms of the legal precedent, Harvard and MIT were sued for this, and it was determined that captions need to be as accurate as possible, so 99% plus. They really need to be accurate so that they can be understandable. And here you can see another difference sort of between machine captions, this time from YouTube, and human captions. When you're pulling video from YouTube, so you may find yourself using video that isn't even yours. And unfortunately, YouTube did away with the ability to crowdsource captions for their videos, which I'm super disappointed about. It's another one of those things that, the reason that captioning is a subject that you kind of need to pay attention to because it changes. You used to be able to upload captions for other people's videos, and doesn't seem to be a thing anymore. So you can see when you turn on captions in YouTube, it might say English auto-generated. And then it should be pretty obvious because you can notice here there's no capitalization, there's no punctuation, even words that you would think it could figure out to capitalize, like I've, has a lowercase I for some reason. So they didn't even really try for whatever reason. And this is the reason that I say like Panopto auto captions or Zoom auto captions are probably better. Zoom for sure if you have multiple speakers, because at least it's going to make some attempt at punctuation and capitalization, which if nothing else, even if it still needs editing, it's going to make your editing process a whole lot faster. Take it from someone who has done caption editing for YouTube and for Panopto. I like Panopto a whole lot better. I actually edited the captions on the right-hand side, and I actually made a mistake based on the official style guides for this. I should have done a lowercase L here, but that's okay. Notice that I added speaker labels. Notice that I added the fact that she's laughing. Yes, that is important. It contributes to the atmosphere of the video, and it gives the same information that someone would get from listening to the video. So the experience really needs to be the same and not just roughly equivalent for someone who is using captions. And notice here that Cynthia's wearing a mask in this video, Cynthia Shower, as she presents the award. And so that's why I needed to put her name here to say that she is speaking, because you can't tell. You can't read her lips to see who is saying yeah and who is laughing. So masks weirdly have had that effect on how we caption things. So there are some things you can do to help with the machine caption accuracy, which, if you don't edit it, will make a big difference, and if you do edit it, it will speed up your editing time. So speaking slowly and clearly, audio quality, so having a good microphone, having it 4 to 6 inches from your face is the recommendation. Recording from a location that is quiet and that doesn't have a ton of echo, and testing your audio levels before you start recording. So you want it to be, one was too high, one was too low, one was just right. You want it to be just right. Make sure you enunciate your technical terms. Apparently, we've come a long way on endoplasmic reticulum, but some of them, may still need to be enunciated. If you're doing live events, so if you are live recording, this was something we ran into early in the pandemic when we were doing Zoom workshops that were also in person, so like HiFlex courses. You need to repeat or restate questions that you get from the audience. So if or even if you're doing a traditional Zoom meeting and you're recording it and you think that someone's audio may not have been as clear, you can ask the question back to them. So your question is blah blah blah, correct? And then the auto caption will pick it up from you instead of from someone in the back of the room. Okay. A note on using some of the different platforms. So like I said, a year ago or probably 2 years ago now, I would not have told you to use the Panopto auto caption over YouTube, and now that's not true anymore. So here's my updated recommendations for platforms. We recommend using WebVTT, which is a different way of saying a .vtt file, for everything except Google Drive, because Google Drive won't accept it. And that's because SRT files will not work for Canvas Apple users. Panopto and Zoom are good for creating machine captions and for editing them. Zoom in particular, if you have multiple speakers, it will pick that up. However, you cannot upload captions to Zoom. So you can't edit your captions in Panopto and then upload them to Zoom to allow students to watch your Zoom recording. That's not an option. YouTube can be the best platform if you are reading from a script, because it has this thing called autosync. So if you are, I always recommend recording from a script if you can, even if you make changes, partway through, you go off on a tangent or whatever. I often start with scripts for not necessarily workshops, but for a lot of the how-to videos that we make. And so if you have a script and you record from it, you can just copy and paste that script into YouTube, and it will try to auto sync your script into captions for you, which is cool. That works best when the video is less than an hour and if you have good audio quality. Canvas does not have a built-in caption editor, like I mentioned. You may, if you're Googling around, which I recommend, and looking for captions in Canvas, you may run into something called Canvas Studio. We do not have that. So that is an extra service. It's basically a competitor to Panopto, for example. And that is a service that KVCC has not purchased. So if you see things about Canvas Studio and how to do captions, that is not going to apply to us at this time. However, Canvas itself, using the rich content editor, does allow you to upload captions, but not edit them. Okay, so I'm just going to go over a little bit about proper captions. I certainly am not an expert in proper caption style. Just like I would, if I went to write a paper right now, I was an English major, but I would still need to go to Purdue OWL or whatever to look up, APA versus MLA style. Here are just some guides that you can use on when you're editing your captions. So, first and foremost, they shouldn't be longer than, 5 seconds in length. New captions should start with new sentences, clauses, or prepositional phrases. So for example, she said he left work early that day so that he could stop by the market. These should be like separate captions. And always split up captions that are more than 60 characters long. A lot of caption editors have the ability to split lines and adjust their timings. Some of them might be easier than others. Just know that if you have like a really big block of text, it is painful and difficult for your viewer to try and read that whole thing all at once and also pay attention to the video. So generally, these are rules of thumb for caption length. Speaker labels, this is probably more critical, I would say, in my non-expert opinion, because if you don't know who is talking, then it's going to affect the meaning of your video. And also, if someone is spending brain cells and time and effort trying to figure out who is talking, that's not what you want them to be focusing on in your class. You want them to be engaging those brain cells with the learning content and not with trying to play detective on your video. So in this case, you use a dash and a space for a new speaker. If you can see who is talking, then you don't need names. But if you can't see who is talking, then you would need a name to identify them. And if you just, it kind of makes sense, right? If I'm wearing a mask and I start talking, then you need to identify that it's me. Or if I'm off screen and I start talking, there's no way to know who I am unless you say so. Sound effects, aka atmospherics. So basically, like as I said earlier, all your viewers should get the benefit of sound effects, even if they can't hear them. So any important atmospherics, if it's background clutter that does not impact anything, if someone coughs or whatever, and it's not on, it doesn't matter to the video, then ignore it. That's totally fine. But if I'm laughing, if there's a doorbell rings, the phone rings, and I have to pick it up, whatever, what have you, if it impacts the meaning of the video, you should include, the fact that I laughed, for example. Should use all lowercase. That's a mistake I made earlier, and avoid using parentheses for other stuff that's not atmospherics. So if I did not say, oh my goodness, laughs. I said, oh my goodness, and I laughed. So only use parentheses for determining atmospherics. And then if there's music for longer than a couple of seconds, again, that's something that everyone should have the benefit of knowing that that's there.